Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. It is Halloween. Spooky game yesterday, which we'll get into in just a moment. But happy Halloween. This is Double Fries No Slaw. TJ Pittenger, Richie Barnes. Richie, how's your Halloween so far? You doing anything exciting? You dressing up today? Like, what's going on?
No, definitely not. We don't have kids. I'm not going to be that guy dressing up as the kids come to the house. I've had the hiccups all morning. My goodness, it's been miserable. But no, it's a exciting day in the Barnes household. You know, the Bucks and Saints. So the rivalry lives on between me and the wife, and excited to see Jameis play the Bucks today. I think should be a very interesting, fun game. I think the spread to open at 5.5. It's down to 3.5, so it should be a close one.
Yeah, I kind of think the Bucks win. I know that's not like a wild take, like taking a favorite with Tom Brady at quarterback, but I do think the Bucks win. Mostly just because I just don't trust New Orleans' weapons. I think if Michael Taylor, it'd make a big difference. But we can get into that a little bit later today. We'll talk obviously a lot of FSU football with the Noles dropping a close one to Clemson yesterday, and we'll get into some other FSU sports, some other things kind of going on. But before we get into any of that, happy Halloween. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Double Fries No Slaw brought to you by Guthrie's in Tallahassee. You can visit both their locations at 1818 West Tennessee Street and 2550 North Monroe. Tell them Double Fries No Slaw sent you, and make sure you throw that coleslaw away. Don't these trash takes that I hear on the roll up. People caping for coleslaw is really just kind of mind blowing to me. It's one thing, again, if you put coleslaw like on a barbecue sandwich, or I went somewhere the other day that had a pastrami Reuben and they put coleslaw on that. Not bad, add a little crunch, but like, come on, if there's French fries there, just get fries.
Yeah, Larry was tripping there. He's tripping, man.
Larry said, like, grow up. You don't have to have a double fries. Like, quit being a little kid. Like, grow up and get coleslaw. I'm like, you're eating chicken tenders. Like, there's no grow up there, right? Like, you're
the ultimate child meal.
Yeah, you're like, that's what Elena gets, chicken tender. Like, I mean, so like, there's no grow up when you are eating chicken tenders. But anyway, go buy Double Fries No Slaw, or go buy Guthrie's and get your Bucks Double Fries No Slaw. Be a kid at heart. It's Halloween. Just enjoy your day. Noles drop a close one to Clemson, 30-20 final score. A little deceiving as Clemson scored a garbage time touchdown that ended up covering the spread on the last play.
What a bad beat for anyone who had Florida State and the under, because both of those went to man. And I saw Portnoy,
and everyone had Florida State and the under. Like that was the bet. Like, because you were like, Clemson's not that good. Like, they'll keep it close. The bet was the right. If you bet the under and you bet Florida State, you bet the right thing.
Worst bad beat ever. I saw Portnoy from Barstool tweeted out he had $125,000 on the game and lost it on that play.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. So Noles drop a close one. We'll kind of go through the game real quick and give some observations, give some thoughts. You guys know what happened. So, I don't know that we have to go super deep into anything, but want to kind of get to some different things that happened within the game and then kind of move on and look ahead at what Florida State has down the road and coming up. But Richie, I'll start with you and kind of get your initial first thoughts on Florida State. It's a loss is a loss, right? But Florida State losing and looking okay against a mediocre to bad Clemson team. But thoughts initially after the loss yesterday?
A little disappointed. It's if you had told me a few weeks ago that we'd have the ball with a chance to beat Clemson in the fourth quarter, or if you told me we had a 3-point lead with 7 minutes left in the game, I would have loved that. I just think, some missed opportunities for Florida State. Obviously, the penalties, a couple 15-yarders, questionable. I don't know, but you put yourself in those positions. The one late hit out of bounds was just atrocious. The Clemson player was still in bounds when it happened. It's encouraging to watching the game, never thinking, okay, that you don't have a chance, but at the same time, it was there for the taking. And I just think missed opportunity. The defense played okay, but they just couldn't finish, and the offense really couldn't get anything going at all. Overall encouraging because listen, they have a much better roster than we do. It's not really close, But, you went out there, you competed. I don't think the moment was ever too big for any of these players. It's just disappointing when you have that lead in the fourth quarter and, let it slip away like you did. And frustrating, but also encouraging. If we'd come out and lost, 31-14 or something, it'd be a very disappointing performance. But again, at the end of the day, you're 9.5-point dogs. You lost by 10. You really lost by 4. So you take it. Hopefully they stay healthy and they can regroup and get ready for looks like a pretty good NC State team.
Yeah, for sure. I think that overall, I don't think that this game was as close as it truly was down there at the end. Florida State's defense, you wrote this down. Florida State's defense looked okay in this game. Saying that, still gave up 24 points, which is the most that Clemson had scored in regulation, the second most points that Clemson against an FBS opponent, the second most yards that they had against an FBS opponent. And so Florida State's defense, though good, and though at the beginning of the year, if I'd have told you that Clemson was only going to score 24 against us, 30 with the last play. But again, that was not on the defense, and I don't really care about that score anyway. If I'd have told you that Clemson was only going to score 24 on us, you'd have thought we had a great chance, and we did have a great chance. But the defense played fairly well and did some good things. But the offense was just inept. One touchdown drive is really all that they could muster, and then one long touchdown play, right? Just an incredible one play effort to get a touchdown, which is fine. That sometimes is how you have to score. But when you really think of it, out of 13 drives that Florida State had, they only really drove the ball one time. And so that Clemson defense absolutely had FSU's offense's number all day. On the touchdown drive, which did go 75 yards, really good drive by Florida State, and just kind of a long, methodical drive where they ended up getting into the end zone. Really, really good job by FSU's offense there. But outside of that drive, just didn't do anything all day outside of the one long play. And so, so many 3-and-outs, turnovers on downs, and then obviously – a big fumble, a play after they had a big fumble, kind of ended up being the difference. Now, what stunk was that you did have a chance, and with 3 minutes to go, you had the lead, and so that's where it's frustrating, is that you're like, man, we're so close. And so Florida State, had they held on and either run the clock out or gotten a couple of first downs or gotten a stop there late at the game, would have really stole that game. Because I thought Clemson deserved to win the game. I thought Clemson was the better team all day. Their defense played better. Their offense was better than our offense, as inept as they've been. We couldn't do what we wanted to do running the ball, and we really didn't do a great job passing either. And so I thought Clemson deserved to win the game, and we nearly stole it late. And that's what makes it hurt worse, is you had a chance at the end and just couldn't hold on. So first half, I thought, started about as well as you could want, right? Like, both teams trade punts to start. Clemson hits a field goal. We go down and score on that possession early to take a 6-3 lead. They end up scoring a touchdown to take a 10-6 lead. And then one play, you got the long pass down to Toa Philly, who made best play of the game. That or Jermaine Johnson's play at the end, but best play of the game. Have you watched SportsCenter yet? Like, that had to be in the top 10. Like, I'm sure that one-handed interception for Michigan State was up there too, but that Toa Philly run had to be in the top 10 of SportsCenter, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I watched the episode of SportsCenter, but I can tell you that it certainly had to be in the top 3. I didn't see all the games across the country. I saw all the big plays, but it was ridiculous. And I thought it was so cool. I noticed this morning when I was watching the call with Gene Deckerhoff calling it. It's pretty cool
awesome
that it happened like right in front of the Bobby tribute painted on the sideline. Like, that's exactly where he was when everyone thought he was down, and he just wasn't. And then they show the replay, and a lot of people are giving these refs a hard time. That was a phenomenal officiating job right there to not call it dead, because he was right on top of the play, saw it. He was watching Tua Philly, just toe tap around the sideline before getting into the end zone, and it ended up being the right call. So, for a lot of flack that we give, that would have been really frustrating if they had called him down there, because there's no guarantee we get a touchdown or even a field goal at that point. But that was one of the most ridiculous plays. I was at a bar in downtown Orlando with the FSU Seminole Club there, and everyone's just so confused. And then the announcer says, "No, wait, it's a touchdown," and everyone just goes nuts. And man, it was a fun game to watch. It was frustrating, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, certainly special. And it was a lot of fun both ways. There were big plays for both teams. There was a lot of swings and energy. There were, the game itself was fun. Man, I'll tell you, when I know I predicted it to be overtime, but when we got the ball back with a couple minutes to go and got that first down, and it was 24-20, I was like, hey, we're going to win by my final score. Like, I'm going to hit this dead on 27-24. Like, let's go. And then obviously things didn't end up working out for us. Florida State goes to the half down 17-13. And really at that point, Clemson answered our touchdown with a long drive, 10 plays, 83 yards. And kind of what I was worried about, my whole take was we couldn't give up the big play and we couldn't turn the ball over. Well, we certainly turned the ball over more than we should have with really couldn't turn it over at all. But the fumble that we had was pretty detrimental in the second half. But even after that, we had a chance. But they really did nickel and dime us down the field on a couple of their scoring drives. There were certainly plays that, that were splash plays. Shipley had a 22-yard run on that touchdown drive. DJ Ungalele, I don't know how to say that. I don't know. Whatever. DJ Ukulele had a 19-yard pass to Ross. Ross obviously played a lot better than we thought. Shipley had a 14-yard run. Shipley was amazing. Like, he was really, really good for Clemson all day. And Florida State didn't seem to do a great job on those scoring drives of getting off the field on third down. And Clemson takes a lead into the half, 17-13. And you kind of thought there, man, we just gave up 17 points in the first half. Like, they're on pace. They're on pace to blow us out, right? Not blow us out, but like score more than anybody else has scored. And I don't know, it just wasn't, was not looking good for the defense in the first half, giving up 17 to a really bad Clemson offense, which is about as much as they'd scored in regulation since then. But then I will say the defense really stepped up from there. Defense didn't allow another touchdown until very late in the game, which ended up being the decider. But I thought the defense past that looked pretty good. Clemson missed a field goal, threw an interception, fumbled the ball, missed another field goal. So the defense definitely was bend, don't break. The defense also got a fumble return touchdown with Jermaine Johnson there. And that's where you kind of thought, like, holy crap, we might do this. We might be able to go out and win it. Florida State gets up 20-17 and about 7.5 minutes left to go in the game, right? When that happened. So Florida State not only gets a touchdown to go up 20-17, but also forces a 3-and-out on the very next possession. And to me, this was the most critical part of the game. Florida State goes up 20-17, forces a 3-and-out, and gets the ball back with 5.5 minutes to go and couldn't do anything with it. Like, to me, that was the difference in the game. Florida State. All right, before we go to that, I'll shut up real quick and we'll talk. Florida State takes the 20-17 lead, 5.5 minutes to go. Do you think we're winning at that point? Like, were you thinking like, all right, we're going to do this? Because I still didn't, I didn't believe just yet.
I certainly thought there was a chance at that point. Obviously we struggled to run the ball all day. And you go back to last week when Pitt beat Clemson, they had the ball with 7 minutes left and Clemson never got the ball back just because Pitt was able to run it out. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let's do it. Let's do what Pitt did. We can just run this ball out and get out of here. And I actually predicted 20-17. So I was really hoping that that score was going to hold. but yeah, I felt pretty confident, to be honest, because the defense, as you know, poor as they were in the first half, they did really buckle down in the second half and, kept Clemson in check for the most part. But yeah, when it was 20-17 and we had the ball there, I'm thinking, man, we just have to hang on here. But in the back of my mind, I was also thinking we cannot give up any points though, because the offense hasn't done anything all day.
Yeah.
And how big is that missed extra point on that first touchdown? Because now you're down 4 instead of 3 late in the game there, to where instead of trying to just somehow get a field goal, that's no longer an opportunity. And one of the worst hook and ladder plays I can ever recall seeing. But that's kind of what happens when you're in that situation. It's less than 5% chance anyway. It's almost like Auburn kind of ran that against us on the last play in the national championship. Only they did a great job of setting up a wall and everything. I don't know what we were doing on there. It's obviously Jordan Travis isn't going to throw the ball 70 yards. But yeah, I did think we had a chance, and I think we let it slip away. But to your point, TJ, I do think Clemson was the better team most of the day. So it definitely would have been stealing the game. So you can't say, oh, we deserved to win that game. No, we didn't. We did enough to hang around and couldn't close.
Florida State gets the ball back with 5.5 minutes to go, up by 3. And I think this happened and so I've got a couple of nitpicks. But Florida State gets the ball back, and I think this happened 2 or 3 times yesterday, where we had a false start on the first play of a drive. It happened, yes, on a 3-and-out midway through the third quarter. Devontae Love Taylor did it. We had it. I'm not going to look through every single possession, but and Andrew Parchment did it on the first play of a drive with about 3.5 minutes to go in the second quarter. And then on that final drive, or the second to last drive, where we got the ball back with 5.5 minutes to go, Kurt Weiler, the Democrat, tweeted that Clemson fans were legitimately walking towards the exits when Florida State got the ball back with 5.5 minutes to go, which is wild to me. But we get the ball back, 5.5 minutes to go, and Darius Washington commits a false start. We're immediately starting on 1st and 15 from our own 14-yard line. And I really think that drive, like you just mentioned, though I looked over at my buddy Matt, who was over watching the game, and I said, we cannot give the ball back. We have to we've either got to hold it or get it back to them with like less than a minute to go. Because if we give the ball back, I don't have enough confidence in us stopping them, and I don't think there'll be enough time for us to score either way, right? And so an immediate false start and then 3 straight runs was just an absolute recipe. I thought we should have been more aggressive there. Jordan Travis, we thought the lock of the year was the 30 over under 32 yards or 35, whatever he ended up with. Obviously, he did not rush for that long or that much, and so he went under. But we did not run the ball very well yesterday, and so I did not like the decision to come out. And I'll say this. I thought Norvell did a good enough job of keeping FSU in the game. He saved his big splash play, and we did a really good job of springing Toa Philly for that long pass. Obviously, he had some heroics and kind of made that play himself, tiptoeing down the sideline and staying up. But I thought Norvell did a good enough job keeping FSU in this game. But I think that late in the game, when you hadn't run the ball well all day, Jayshon Corbin went 9 for 31. Trayshawn Ward went 5 for 21. Lawrence Toa Philly went 4 for 17. And Jordan Travis, 16 rushes for -4 yards, right? And obviously, there's a big sack that is in there. On Corbin's 9 runs, he had 1 for 24. So his other 7 runs went for 7 yards, right? Trayshawn Ward had 1 run for 11. His other 4 runs went for 10 yards. Toa Philly had 1 rush for 8 yards. His other 3 runs went for 11. So we were not running the ball very well at all. We came out on that drive looking like, I don't know what the thought process was of us being able to run the clock out against Clemson by running the ball, but I did not like the 3 straight runs there. I thought that was very, I don't know. I don't know if bullheaded is the right word, but I had no confidence in Florida State being able to run the ball against Clemson We run a read option on first and I thought we needed first downs. And I thought the only way we were going to do that was by throwing the ball, moving the ball down the field. We run for 1 yard on first down, run for 2 yards on second down. All of a sudden, it's 3rd and 12. Travis picks up 3-4 yards, but now it's 4th and 9. And I thought giving them the ball back was the difference in the game. If you pick up a first down or 2, the game is over, right? And Florida State couldn't do that, only wasted about a minute and a half off the clock. Error after error after error. I thought all three pieces of the team let the team down in the final 5 minutes. When Florida State had a 3-point lead and the ball, I thought they played a terrible last 5.5 minutes. From coaching to offensive execution to special teams to defense, officiating didn't help, but I thought all 4 aspects, coaching, offense, defense, and special teams were all really, really bad. Mastromanno punting from our 20, hits a 38-yard punt, by far his worst punt of the day, at the worst time to have a bad punt. And Clemson immediately has the ball on their own 42. We know what happened after that. A bad pass interference call that both announcers really, really hated. Ungalele to
Mike popped out.
I muted. It always happens, right? Like I can't go an episode without it. But a bad pass interference call on Noles. Clemson gets a first down, and then a personal foul penalty on Lundy, in which Richie mentioned the guy was in bounds when that was called. So frustrating for sure. And then we give up a 21-yard run to Shipley, and Clemson scores and goes up 24-20. I've talked a lot. I've kind of recapped some of it, but any thoughts around? Obviously, we can give the officiating a hard time and say that we didn't like that. But any thoughts around Florida State coming out trying to run the ball 3 times on that drive with 5.5? I looked over at Matt and said, we've got to throw the ball here. Like, I know we weren't super successful throwing the ball. We were more successful throwing it than we were passing it. And if you get 2 first downs, you win the game. And so a little frustrated just seeing us be so conservative there. And so I think that's somewhat on the coaching. I know that we're not a prolific passing team. I know we just can't pass it at will. This isn't Jameis playing, right? But I was frustrated to see us be so conservative because you've seen that script played out in college football so many times. We were conservative. They got the ball back and won.
Yeah, I was fine with the running on first and second down because you are trying to burn some clock here. But it's clear you're not moving the ball on the ground. So on third down, I mean, that's just essentially Norvell and Dillingham saying that, let's let the defense go out there. They've been playing well enough the second half, so we don't need this. Let's not. I think they were playing to try and avoid a turnover and, like you said, being conservative, but that's not how you pull an upset on the road against a 10-point favorite, 9.5-point favorite. You on third down there, you have to throw it, even though they know you're throwing the ball. At least run a screen or something. It was frustrating because you kind of felt the game slipping away when they just run it and they get stuffed at the line on first, second, and then they run it again on third down. Yeah, I definitely think they should have thrown there on third down to be aggressive, to try and put the game away, because of your 2 units, you probably trust your offense a little more than your defense. So why not let the unit that you trust more go put the game away? So it was frustrating in that aspect.
The defense had also been on the field over and over and over again. I think you have to look at time and situation there. And I like Norvell. I think he, like I said, did a good enough job of keeping FSU in the game. But if you just look at the flow of the game, Clemson had the ball for 3 minutes, 8-play drive, missed a field goal, right? Okay, they missed a field goal. Florida State then got the ball back and immediately they didn't go 3 and out because they had a first down and then went 3 and out. So it was really like a 4 and out, right? Put the defense right back on the field. Clemson gets the ball back, and we have a fumble return touchdown. Defense right back on the field. Then you have Clemson going 3 and out and us going 3 and out, right back on the field. And so I thought the defense had been on the field, and they had been doing well. I mean, I'll say that. The defense played well in the second half, well enough for us to have a chance. But, man, when you had a chance to go out and, 2 sides of football, right? Scoring and preventing the other team from scoring. The best defense is an offense that moves the ball. And if you just get, like I said, 2 first downs there, unless they're on like back-to-back plays or whatever, but if you get 2 first downs, then you move the ball down the field, right? Like then You're not punting from your own 15. You're not, even if he punts a 38-yard punt, if you're on the 50, that's fine, And so I don't know. I mean, not only did I not love, I hated the decision to come out and be ultra conservative there, especially after the false start. On the 1st and 10, you have the false start on Washington, and then you run for 1 yard. And on 2nd and 14 right there, Clemson knows they're getting the ball back, right? I mean, like, they absolutely know it. And so it was frustrating to see us get that conservative. Obviously, getting behind the sticks does not help, but it was frustrating to see it be that conservative. I would have really liked to see, to me, wasting clock there did nothing to help us. If anything, it would have helped us when we ended up getting the ball back late. We would have had, if we'd had some incompletions. I mean, this is hindsight's 2020, but to me, if you weren't going to go score there and Clemson did end up scoring, you had more time at the end and not just like 23 seconds when you got the ball back anyway. So that's a little hindsight's 2020 type stuff. But yeah, hated that decision. Okay, so Clemson gets the ball back. Florida State still has a chance on defense to stop Clemson. There's 3.5 minutes to go, 3:48, so just under 4 minutes to go. And a couple of calls that, I mean, were questionable at best. Could have probably gone either way. I think that, I don't think the pass interference call was the most egregious penalty I've ever seen. I don't think he made contact, but you do see that called quite often when the guy doesn't turn his head around. I know this is not the NFL, but they call that very much like the NFL rule, and he didn't turn around. He didn't make a play on the ball. And so, though I don't think he interfered, I don't think that call is egregious as others that we've seen. I think a lot of times calls like that get called. It wasn't the first time that I've seen it wasn't even the first time in that game that a pass interference got called on that. It might have been Noles the first time too, for not getting his head around. So I think it was a bad call, but I don't think it was terribly egregious. And then the personal foul penalty, that one's rough. And that's exactly what I was talking about with the Jordan Travis against Syracuse play. I love that worked out for us, but that's absolutely kind of the issue with not only the Lundy penalty, but the Jordan Travis one. It was not a penalty. It was not a late hit. He still had a foot in bounds, but because guys are so afraid to make a hit, Travis was able to take advantage of it. And unfortunately, Lundy was penalized for it because it's such a bang-bang play on the sidelines that, like, refs are just always going to throw a flag when it's that close. And so it really let us win the Syracuse game and cost us this Clemson game. So that penalty is something that, I mean, they won't, because the NCAA is absolutely incompetent and sucks, and is like the worst run sports league in America. But it's really something that I wish they'd address and kind of look at, because Jordan Travis shouldn't be allowed to cut up the field like that, like he was against Syracuse. Now, again, I'm glad that helped us, and Lundy shouldn't be penalized. Like, it should be one way or the other, man. You bang plays. I don't know. I understand player safety and stuff, but that is frustrating on both sides. And I'll say that as big of a homer as I am and can be, I complained about it when Travis took advantage of it too. So, like, I hate both sides of it. Obviously glad it benefited us one side, but it's not just sour grapes because it cost us the game. I was sour about it when we won a game because of it too, because it's just not right. It's just not good football to me.
And part of the problem is we have the one set of rules for the NCAA, but then you have all these conferences with all these part-time refs who, that they just don't have the consistency across the leagues. I think for as bad as ACC is, Pac-12 has by far the worst refs. If you just watch some of their games, but yeah, and to the point though, you can't let the ref, if you have a chance to win a game, you can't let the refs, even a bad call, be the reason you lose that game. Like, it's different if you're talking, national championship, Miami, Ohio State, right? That was egregious. But in a game like this, you gotta, avoid those penalties. If Noles gets his head around, plays a little better technique, he may not get that flag right there. The flag I hate the most is wide receiver false starts. There's no excuse for a wide receiver to ever false start, because you're taught at a very young age when you play that position that you don't listen to the count. You watch the football, and when the football snaps, that's when you go. So those are inexcusable. But yeah, that Florida State, but unfortunately on the bad end of a couple important key calls at some key times. But again, you can't say the refs are the reason Florida State lost. Clemson just outplayed us.
I think so. I think, again, if Florida State had found a way to win this game, it would have kind of been stealing it thanks to the fumble return touchdown. Even though the defense played well enough to keep us in the game, I still think that it would have definitely been us stealing it. After the personal foul penalty on Lundy, Will Shipley runs for 21 yards and a touchdown where we missed a few tackles. He ended up getting the end zone. Florida State does get the ball to give Clemson a 24-20 lead. Florida State gets the ball back. Can't muster anything. Actually did get a first down. A completed pass to Wilson for 5 yards. Toa Philly with his long run of the day for 8 yards. And then a couple of incompletion, a sack, and then another really, really big sack on a 3rd and 13. Kind of made Florida State punt the ball away. Now, they did get a 3-and-out on defense, and so got the ball back with 20-some seconds to go. Had a nice pass to Helton up to the Florida State 34. I thought that our special teams, let me complain about them a little bit too. Special teams was terrible yesterday. I don't know what needs to happen, but we have to figure out how to catch a punt, right? And I don't – the frustrating thing is we are not catching punts at around the 15 to 20-yard line and letting them bounce inside the 10 and doing that with so much consistency. And I'm not saying that would have changed the game, but if you'd have caught that punt at the 15 and then had a 25-yard pass, you'd have been on the 40 with about 15 seconds left, and then maybe been able to throw it another 15 yards, and then at least had a Hail Mary attempt and not kind of the craziness at the end. But week after week after week, we make awful, awful decisions with fielding punts, and it costs us so many yards. Like, I'd love, I don't know if Trey does this in his little breakdown deal, but I'd love to know how many yards we lost yesterday by not just fair catching punts. And it shows up over and over and over again. And I may go watch that on the condensed version and chart that quickly. But instead of starting on our own 15 or 20, we start on our own 9. Couldn't really get anything going. We obviously Clemson scores on the last play of the game because we ran kind of a pretty terrible hook and ladder play. But frustrating. I think all 3 phases of the team let us down in the last 5 minutes. Defense by giving up the touchdown, special teams by not being able to field a punt, special teams by not being able to punt the ball down the field, Mastromanno with his worst punt of the game at the worst possible time, and then offense not being able to move the ball, coaching not calling a little bit more aggressive style of plays on that 3-and-out. So I thought the team did just enough to be in it late, and then all 4 phases, coaching, offense, defense, and special teams, let the team down, and Clemson ends up winning, which, kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah, and this special teams is really frustrating, and I'm sure Mike Norvell's beyond frustrated with it because I know they dedicate a lot of time to special teams in practice. John Papuchis does a good job with it, and it's frustrating because this goes back to Jimbo's last season with Tavares McFadden. He did the same thing. He would never catch the punts. Like, he would just point to it and let it, land it and roll back and lose all those extra yards. Yeah. And through, Jimbo couldn't get it going. Willie never really got it going. And Norvell last year, we were pretty good on special teams. And this year it's frustrating. And, you need to put somebody back there who's going to catch the ball at the very least. Right. Yeah. You have to be a man to be a punt returner because you have some heat seeking missiles coming after you. But if you can't even make the fair catch to where you don't even try to catch the ball, what are we doing here? Because those yards add up week after week. And in a game where you were outgained by like 150 yards like they were yesterday, that's not going to help out. And again, when you think about all of these things that we've talked about in the past few minutes here, it's crazy that Florida State was in it and did have a chance to win that game late because there was just a lot of things not going in their favor.
Yeah, I looked it up, and I think there were only 2 or 3 punts that kind of hurt us on yesterday. And one of so the first punt of the game was exactly what we're talking about. Spires punted for 49 yards from Clemson's 43. Believe the ball hit down somewhere around the 18-ish and rolled to the 8. So Florida State started inside of their own 8-yard line. So it cost us about 10 yards there. And then obviously the very last one that the ball hit down again around the 20, rolled inside of the 9, and then Florida State had to start late there. I don't know that it changes the result in the game, but I mean that's a fifth of the field, right? Like, and that's just on 2 punts, and just fielding the ball would definitely be something that would help FSU in the long term. That's probably the most minor thing of the last 5 minutes. I thought Mastromano's punt, again, worst time of the day for him to have his worst punt. The defense played well all half, and then thanks to a short field and a couple of penalties that, we wish wouldn't have gone the way they did. And then a few broken tackles on the Shipley run. The defense couldn't hold them out of the end zone. And Florida State doesn't find a way to win it. So biggest thing to me, again, though, was not being aggressive. Getting the ball back with 5.5 minutes to go, up with a lead. You needed to not give the ball back to Clemson there. And Florida State just looked like they were content to run the clock out. And after only running for 40 yards on the entire day, I did not have confidence that Florida State would do that successfully. Maybe Norvell trusted his guys, maybe thought that was the best way. I mean, certainly thought that was the best way for him to end up winning. Panama Jack, I agree with you. I see commenting on YouTube that, a couple of first downs there would have been the difference in the game. So I thought all 4 phases, coaching, offense, defense, and special teams, let FSU down there late. But to me, the biggest issue was the non-aggressiveness. If you get 2 first downs there, you win the game. If you can get 5 yards on first down, I'm okay with you running it on second down. Because if you get a yard, then it's 3rd and 4, and you're in a great spot. So frustrating for sure to see it in like that. But probably positives to take away, but it's a little too raw to take many away. I mean, you stayed in the game with Clemson the whole time. I mean, even if I'd have told you at the beginning of the year we're going to lose to Clemson by 10, I mean, you'd have taken that. But it's a little frustrating knowing what we know now. Florida State gets to 3-5, Richie. Probably not the record we thought we'd have right now. I think we both kind of probably had us at 4-4 in this moment, with that being our way to get to the 6 wins, was by going 2-2 down the stretch to make a bowl now. Florida State.
Mike pulled out again.
I'm telling you, man, this mic is so sensitive that every time I move just a little bit, like it goes off. But Florida State most likely needs to go 3-1 down the stretch to get to a bowl. Obviously, it's outside shot if they can get the APR stuff with a 5-win season. Put a bow on this Clemson game. Florida State moves on and has NC State this weekend, who looked pretty bad first half against Louisville and then just kind of piled it on late. I think it was like 7-7 in the third quarter, or 10-7 in the third quarter. I guess I can find out. Tweeted about it. Yeah, Louisville was up 10-7 on NC State late in the third. What are your thoughts on this NC State game coming up? We'll talk about it more on Thursday, but they ended up winning that game 28-13. They scored 21 in the fourth quarter, so they were definitely a fourth quarter team there. But NC State's 6-2. Do you think they're good? Like, do you think they're 6-2 good, or what are your thoughts on NC State?
They're definitely solid. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think they've lost 2 captains on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're a good team. They'll probably be favored. I haven't seen a line yet. I'd say probably anywhere from like 5.5 to 7.5, maybe, when they come to Tallahassee. It's a good game. It's a good warm up for Miami, who looks pretty good beating Pitt yesterday, actually. But yeah, this NC State team, it will not be easy. They have a first round left tackle on the offensive line. They're just a very physical team and solid. And I think Florida State can match that physicality. That's one thing I've been really impressed with this team. Both fronts, even the offensive line, when they struggled because they don't have the players, they're not just getting physically whipped up front like we've seen in years past. So I think it'll be a good game, and we'll talk about it on Thursday. But another good opportunity for Florida State to potentially pull an upset.
Yeah, I think Florida State. We'll talk about this a lot more on Thursday. I think Florida State can be right in this game. NC State has been very up and down. Um, Lost to Mississippi State, which is not very good. Only scored 10 points on the road there. And then a win against Clemson, which at that time we thought, man, that's really good. That's impressive to beat Clemson in overtime, 27-21. And then they barely beat Louisiana Tech. They go on the road and beat the heck out of Boston College, go lose to Miami, and then yesterday's win against Louisville. They're very up and down. That kickoff is going to be at 4 p.m. on Saturday, it was announced. So a little bit of an afternoon game there, a slate. I think Florida State has a great chance to go out and get an upset in that game. I don't know that I would predict it just yet. But, NC State and Clemson went toe-to-toe and went to overtime. And so I think that, not to transitive property it too much, but I think they're about on the level of Clemson with a defense that's not quite as good. Their offense is better, and so that's where Florida State will need to get a little bit better. But if Florida State can kind of run the ball, have some success with that, not have your detrimental turnover late, not have kind of breakdowns in coaching, I think that if you had a 3-point lead with 5 minutes to go against NC State, you probably play a little bit differently. You probably get a couple of first downs because their defense isn't as good. So we'll see. I think that some things really, really went well for Florida State to stay in the game yesterday. Clemson missed, 3 field goals and had a fumble return touchdown. I mean, Clemson very easily could have been up by 20 at a point yesterday if some breaks did. We talk about the officiating. We talk about some of our turnover. We had some breaks go our way too, right? We a strip sack for fumble touchdown return. If that doesn't happen, we're not even talking about it late. We just end up saying we just never could move the ball in the second half. So some things broke right our way too, which is what gave us a chance. But if we could take care of the ball against NC State, I think we'll be right in it late and have a shot. I don't know that we pull the upset or not, but we absolutely can. And so we'll kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. We have 4 games left, and they're all going to be Florida State will likely be an underdog in all of them. Maybe not Boston College, and we'll see. It looks like Florida's made the switch to Anthony Richardson. I don't know if that was the right time to do it against that defense, but yeah, it's there's some opportunity left on the season. These final 4 games here, and hopefully you can steal a couple of them.
Yeah, I know Florida fans think their team is good, and they very well may blow us out, just because I'm saying that and saying that they're not very good, but they're not any good. It'll be interesting to see if Dan Mullen sticks with Anthony Richardson or if he kind of moves away from him or if the Twitter mob comes after him and that's why he, makes a switch. But I mean, Anthony Richardson absolutely cost his team the game yesterday with 3 turnovers. In about 3 minutes of gameplay, they took a 3-0 Georgia lead to a 24-0 Georgia lead. And really with Florida's inept offense and terrible defense, that was all she wrote there. The game was over at halftime. And so, there's not a team left on the schedule that can't beat. I don't think the Miami game is as easy as we thought it was a couple of weeks ago. I think that one's going to be pretty tough for FSU. But we'll see how they look this weekend. And then, you get that Miami team in dope. Miami can't stop the run. They're really, really bad against the run. And so, I think that Van Dyke kid is slinging it, throwing it really well. He's got 12 touchdowns to 4 picks and almost 1,500 yards and hasn't played the whole year. So I think that he is somebody that Florida State has to have pressure on, get to early and often because he can throw it. But there's not a game left on the schedule that Florida State can't win. I think the most likely win is BC. The second most likely win is probably North Carolina State. And then I think the Miami and Florida ones are the tougher two. Miami's probably a little bit tougher than Florida. I know that Florida fans will get upset hearing that. But with their offense being so good, that's probably where I'd lean there. So we'll talk more about NC State going forward. We'll certainly kind of continue to break down the rest of the season. 3-5 right now. What do you think we finish our record with?
I think 5-7 or 4-8 are the 2 most likely outcomes. I don't see a bowl game. I don't see 6 wins. You talked about we might sneak our way into it with the APR and 5 wins because there's 74 bowls out there and they don't have enough teams. But I think I'd probably say 4-8 is the most likely. just because of who you have left. But 5-7 wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I would probably pick 4-8. I think if you beat Clemson, it was more likely that you get 2 more wins, right? Like if you could beat Clemson, build on that. I'd probably pick us to beat NC State, and then I like us to beat BC, and then we may lose the other 2, but then you still get to 6-6.
Yeah.
Now,
if we get to 5 wins, you're going to look at that JSU game and be really upset because there was no excuse for that. And I know we've moved on, but if we finish 5-7 with a loss to Jacksonville State, that's going to be beyond frustrating.
It's going to hurt. Yeah, no doubt. But if you can somehow find a way to get this NC State game, you probably beat BC, right? And then at least you
upset Miami or Florida.
Yeah, well, you go into that Florida game having a chance to get to a bowl, right? And their season's over anyway. They play 3 cupcakes coming up with Missouri, Vandy, and Samford or somebody. So they'll win their next 3, and they'll get to 7 wins. But if you go into that with a chance, who knows? They're not any better than Clemson. Their defense, their offense is better, but their defense isn't. So, anyway, all right. I think that's enough for football. We will be back on Thursday to talk a little bit about the NC State game. Sorry, can't think right now. Volleyball won on Friday night against Boston College. They swept that match. Cross country competed on Friday in South Bend. It's in the ACC championship. So they competed this week as well. And then soccer we talked about on Friday. Go watch our soccer recap or our soccer interview with Beata Olsen. I said that right, and she wasn't even on here. So I wish she would have been here to hear me do that well. They haven't played since. They play the winner of Wake Forest and Duke. That game is later this week. And then volleyball's playing right now. Volleyball is going up against Syracuse. Looks like they're about to win set 1, so hopefully they end up pulling off that win as well. We'll have a full recap of the whole weekend's action over on doublefriesnoslaw.com. Go check that out. Be back on Thursday to talk about the NC State game and see Richie go full homer by picking us again. So I'm probably going to pick us too. Like whatever. At this point, I'm probably going to pick us every game. Like
I'm not sure. Give me your score for Tampa Bay, New Orleans today.
I
think it's a ridiculously high over under. Let me see this right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, over under is 28.5. Like I don't love the way the Bucks defense has played at times. Like
there you go.
Yeah, I don't love the way the Bucks defense has played at times this year. But I also think that like the quality of opponent has kind of made that defense look better. Like I thought, you play the Dolphins, they're terrible. You play the Bears, they're terrible. You play the Eagles, who are not very good. I don't know. I think that it's going to be. I don't hate the over under, to be very honest with you. Like I think the Bucks get to at least 24 and maybe 28. Like their offense is playing so well right now that I don't know. I kind of like Bucks 31, Saints 24. Something like that. So I think I like the over. I think it's close. I just don't think New Orleans has. And we look at the weapons on both sides. Jameis is playing well, but against a good team that can kind of go with them and score drive for drive. I mean, having Michael Thomas would help, but I just think that Tampa is so deep on the outside with Brown and Evans and Godwin. Gronk, is Gronk back?
I don't know. I should probably check that because he's on my fantasy team, and I need to see that.
Even without him, OJ's playing the best football of his career. I mean, he was a dumpster fire the last 5 years, and so I think that and Brate's obviously great. So Fournette, and there's just so many weapons that I think Tampa can continue to score, and New Orleans is missing some weapons. So if this matchup was later in the year with both teams fully healthy, I mean, maybe New Orleans has a better chance, but I think it'll be close. But I think the Bucks end up winning by like a touchdown. So give me the Bucks to cover the spread. But I mean, obviously nothing would shock me. Like the Bucks at times like play down, and it's just weird when they do. So we'll see. But I think the Bucks find a way to win this one. How about yourself?
Yeah. The Little Caesar Dome has been a house of horrors for Tampa Bay. Outside obviously the NFC chair. You're confident when it's the Bucs and near the weapons that Tom Brady's. I think it was like, would that be Jimbo's last year? Maybe 2015. It might be the last time, because I remember watching that game. I was in Boston, and it just destroyed everybody's NFL survivor pool because no one had the Bucs beating the Saints that early. So like over half of the ESPN survivor pool team went out. I don't know. I trust Tom. Gronk is questionable. I'd like your score. I could see it getting a little higher than that potentially, like maybe a 34 to 23 type game. But I'd like the Bucs to cover this one. It'll be interesting because Jameis, Sean Payton's really done a great job of helping Jameis not beat himself. He's not taking a bunch of deep shots, but when they do, it's pretty well calculated and it's worked out well. So it'll be an interesting game. But I think the Bucs win by about 10 or so, and I hope so. And if not, I'll just have to hear from the wife all night about how her Saints beat my Bucs.
And me. I think that it's strength against strength. I think that where this game will be won and lost is whoever's second best unit can perform better, right? Like, so the Bucs obviously have great offense, and the Saints have a great defense. They held the Packers to 3. Yeah. They held the Patriots to 13. They held Washington to 22, Seahawks to 10. The Saints have a great defense, and they play really, really well. And the Bucs obviously have a great offense. So I think those two units will match up well against each other. And so it really comes down to the Saints offense versus the Bucs defense, which I think the Bucs defense is very boom or bust, right? I don't, the Bucs
defense
been
banged up all year. So
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think the Bucs defense is going to come out and pitch 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out. Like, they're either going to give up a touchdown or get a turnover. Like, that's just like what the Bucs defense does. And so and that's how the Saints have been. Like, they're either going to they are very boom or bust too, like only scoring 13 against Seattle, so I think the matchup, I think the Bucs offense and the Saints defense will both be good. I think it really comes down to what can the Saints offense do against a defense that's really good at times. So,
well, the Saints that had the 2 most ridiculous first games of the season, just throwing off anything we thought we knew. When they blow out Green Bay, we're like, oh man, the Saints, they could be contenders. And then they go and lay an egg in Carolina, and it's like, oh wait, Carolina's not even that good. So they've been a very, and to their credit, they haven't had Michael Thomas yet. Hopefully he's not coming back today. I'd like him to wait another week to make his return. But yeah, I do not need the Bucs up by 3 with 2 minutes left and Jameis gets the ball, because if he leads the game-winning 2-minute drill, I'm going to have to delete Twitter off my phone.
I'm going to be insufferable. Well, thank God you can't delete text off your phone. So, yeah, I think that's the other side of it is New Orleans' offensive line has been missing guys all year, and they just haven't been great at times, and that's really was the difference in that Panthers game. Shout out Brian Burns, former FSU legend, but he absolutely crushed and was all over Jameis most of that game. And if the Bucs defensive line, which is very good, can continue to get that pressure and continue to get all over Jameis, then it will be a long day for the Saints offense. In the games that Jameis has had time, gone out and scored a lot and done really well. They scored 28 against the Patriots, 38 against the Packers, 33 against Washington. But in the games where he hasn't had time, they've really struggled. So that'll be big is can they protect him? And if not, the Bucs will absolutely win because that defensive line is great. So anyway, a little bit earlier show today. Wanted to lick these wounds and get out of here after talking about FSU. Thanks to those that hung out. If you can go follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all the different places. Look for Double Fries No Slaw or Double Fries Pod. Check out the website, doublefriesnoslaw.com. Shout out to all the guys behind the scenes that help make us look good and do this on a weekly basis. Shout out Richie for putting up with me another week. Hey, we got basketball coming up soon. Go back and check out our basketball preview that dropped on Tuesday. Again, we did a soccer interview with Beata Olson of FSU Soccer. A lot of stuff happening over here. The Fries stay hot. So, Rich, you got any shout outs before we get out of here?
Yeah, real shout out Scotty Barnes. He's killing it in Toronto. Had another 21.12 rebound performance last night. A lot of their fans were upset that they passed on Jalen Suggs, but I think they're pretty happy right now because he is playing phenomenal as a rookie up there.
Out of his mind right now. No, he really has been impressive. Hey, we threw a party yesterday. Shout out. I'll try and remember where they come over. My buddy Craig, he listens. My Allie that I do the podcast with, her brother Scott, who played for UF. Obviously, Eric, her husband, was a punter at UF. We had my buddy Ben that does the Bourbon podcast over, and then a few other friends that aren't on social media or podcasts and stuff. And Matt, who owns Bay Canyon Beer Company. Great time with them yesterday. Everybody that came over for the party, and they were pretty quiet about that Clemson loss because they were all had their orange and blue on and stuff. So was glad to watch them watch UF just absolutely, implode against Georgia yesterday. I'm not big on moral victories, but at least my team didn't get embarrassed yesterday while we were all hanging out. So shout out to them for coming over. They were a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to watching more games where their team loses, hopefully at the very end of the season. So I also had a point with that, but I kind of forgot what it was. So anyway, shout out to them, I guess, or shout out to me for putting up with them. So shout myself out again. Shout out to Larion for showing up to the no cap episode and not calling out like he did after that loss that he says was pre-scheduled, but he still called in that day and hung up early. So shout out to Larion for being able to show up after his team did finally get a big win. So that's all I got. We'll see you guys on Thursday. I'm tired, so I can't imagine we do a pop-up episode. See you guys on Thursday to talk about NC State. Noles drop again a game to Clemson 30-20, in which they looked pretty good, but just could not get over the hump. Richie, thanks for hanging out. Good luck to Jameis, and we'll talk on Thursday.
I'll see you later.